Probably one of the biggest Bitcoin scams since remember when that person imitated Elon Musk and a number of high profile people on Twitter? And what he did was he tried to get them to send Bitcoin. Remember that? Yeah, so now there's an Instagram influencer who was charged for wire fraud by basically getting his followers to send him Bitcoin. And they sent him over $2.5 million of Bitcoin. So essentially what happened, someone named Jay Mazini, whose real name is Jigara Igbara, he gained more than 1 million Instagram followers on his account where he went under the name Jay Mazini, and he defrauded people of about $2.5 million in Bitcoin by telling them that he would buy Bitcoin for higher than market value. So basically, he was saying if Bitcoin was at $30,000, he would buy it from them at $35,000, and that he would send them money back. And essentially, what he said was happening was that his account was... He was buying too much Bitcoin, he said, on his accounts, on his exchanges. So he had to buy from other people. Basically, they said that the exchanges were limiting how much he could buy. And really, this wasn't a good look. Like, anytime someone says they'll buy something for more than what it's trading for, whether it's like a pair of sneakers or it's Bitcoin, anytime someone says they're going to spend a lot more than what it's actually worth, you know, something has to be up. It's like when someone lists a pair of shoes on an app, let's say on eBay or Mercari, and it's for like a quarter of the price of the real shoes on StockX. Something's probably up. Those are probably fake. And so that's what he did with Bitcoin. His Instagram account was officially deleted, but he could face up to 20 years in prison on the wire fraud charge, and not a good look. So the government warned other people from this happening. We saw this happen with Elon Musk and other high-profile people earlier in the year, and now this happened again. In addition to this, a German man told BBC earlier this month that they sent more than $500,000 to one of the fake accounts, one of the fake Bitcoin wallet addresses, when the Elon Musk scandal sort of happened. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But 20 years in prison, $2.5 million, it's a pretty big deal. But speaking of Elon Musk, he tweeted the other day that Tesla could be the biggest company in the world, surpassing Apple, Amazon, and every other company by market cap. He tweeted early Friday morning that I think there's a greater than 0% chance that Tesla could become the biggest company in the world. And then he later goes on to say, like right after that, he responded to a tweet saying that probably could happen within a few months. He later deleted this tweet, but this is a pretty big deal. So a lot of people are, huge Tesla fans, and they think Tesla is going to be by far the largest company in the world. I like Tesla a lot. I think they're a great company with the energy storage, their cars, batteries. They're a great company. But Elon Musk has gotten in trouble for this in the past. He's previously come out and tweeted about his company. He's tweeted things that he probably shouldn't say. And there's been a lot of investigations, a lot of issues with him just saying whatever he wants on Twitter. So back in the third quarter of 2018, he faced some issues with fraud charges from the SEC after he tweeted to his followers that he was planning on taking the company private at $420 a share. So he's gotten in a lot of trouble with things like this recently over the last couple of years. He basically just says whatever he wants. But either way, even though he deleted the tweet, people still took a screenshot of it, and he still said that he thinks Tesla is going to be the largest company in the world within a couple of months. So whether you like Tesla or you don't, either way, whatever Elon Musk says on Twitter really has a big impact on the stock price. We've seen it before. One time, he actually said, I remember looking at my phone, it said Elon Musk tweeted that he believed the company was overvalued. And as soon as he said that, the stock dropped like 10% immediately. So We'll have to wait and see what happens. Is this going to change if Elon Musk is going to have like allowed to tweet more? I don't think it's going to change any of that, but it'll be interesting to see if they actually do become the biggest company in the world. A lot of people are predicting that the stock price could reach $3,000, $4,000 a share. It could 5x from where it is right now. And while it is possible, they have a lot of work to do before I think that will really happen. Next up, Tesla. Tesla, they have their Tesla semi-truck, and it's already set to be launched, in the US and Europe, but there's a big problem in Australia because in Australia, the laws regarding trucks in local cities forbids them, they have to be within a certain width. There have to be certain dimensions, the truck. And Tesla's new semi-truck is right now just a couple inches too big to be legal. And so for that reason, according to Tesla, they came out and said recently that currently Australia will likely miss out on the first generation of electric heavy vehicles, such as the Tesla Semi, because of their regulation. So right now, any vehicle wider than 2.5 meters, roughly 8.2 feet, cannot operate on local roads, and the Tesla Semi is 2 inches wider than the current regulations. This isn't a problem in other countries because the US, they allow vehicles up to 8.5 feet wide, and the European Union allows vehicles up to 8.4 feet wide. So that 0.3 feet difference between the US and Australia is going to prevent them from having Tesla semi-trucks during the first lineup. Obviously, over time, Tesla is taking this into account. They're going to come out with a smaller width vehicle. It's only 2 inches. So I'm sure their next release, not the first one, but the second one will comply with them. But they are currently trying to see if the regulations can be changed in Australia. But you have to remember, like, roads in different countries are all different. They're different lane, like the widths of the lanes are always different. The side of the road you drive on could be different. So it may seem easy just to do the 2-inch change, but I don't know specifically how wide the roads are. I've been to Australia before, but there could be something with like the width of the actual, like the lines in the road that could be preventing it, because 2 inches doesn't seem like a big deal for like vehicles, but maybe there's something in place where it's not so easy just to change it. But either way, the Tesla semi-truck, Elon Musk said it's ready for volume production. It's ready to start, getting off the production line, and production should take place at Tesla's new factory in Austin, Texas. It'll have about 500 miles of range, and companies like Walmart are already ordering them. They've already put big purchase orders in for them. Here's a crazy story for you. There's a dangling hamster ball robot that could explore caves on the moon and on Mars. So right now, scientists have spotted a lot of different openings, different caves on the moon, and they haven't really been able to get to these. And it's not so easy. If you just have a robot on the surface of the moon, it can't just go into caves or subterranean tubes. But with this new robot that they've proposed, they're calling it Daedalus, and that robot which they're talking about might be able to pull that off, go into the hard to reach places, and potentially find water sources on the moon. So Daedalus stands for Descent and Exploration in Deep Autonomy of Lunar Underground Structures. And the European Space Agency is evaluating this concept to explore lunar caves and like tubes on the moon. So, for example, if all of the robots and rovers on the surface right now, if they see small tubes or caves, they can't always go into them. But with this, the way it would work is it's just like a hamster ball. And it's an 18-inch sphere with a camera, a LiDAR system for 3D mapping, sensors, and also has temperature gauges for the temperature, for radiation levels, and also would have an arm that would be able to move obstacles and testing rocks. So the way it would work is it would be lowered into a cave, and then the ball would just roll around, and then it would navigate autonomously once it was at the bottom of the cave or the tube or whatever it was deployed into. I feel like this was pretty cool. This story I saw, and I thought this was really, really cool, having like a hamster ball that could be dropped into like a hole on the moon and then roll around and explore, potentially finding water sources or finding just large caves that maybe one day humans could live in. It could be modified for people to live in if there are people living on the moons. I thought that was really cool. Here's some rumors with Apple. So Apple, now they accept Google Pixel 4a and Pixel 5 and the Samsung Note 20 for trade-in towards a new iPhone purchase. Previously, iPhone has been pretty strict on what you could trade in to get a new phone. Like when you would get a new iPhone, a lot of the time, like the easiest way and what they wanted was for you to just trade in an old iPhone, get money back for that, and then you could use that towards your new iPhone. But now, as part of Apple's trade-in program, customers can trade in a Google Pixel 5 and receive up to $350 towards a new product. They could trade in the Google Pixel 4a for a value of up to $180, or the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 for $425. So right now, they added a lot more products to their list. Is this going to get people to transfer over? I don't think so. I don't think this is going to be something that would incentivize people to switch over, but it's a pretty cool addition that they're making. If someone's going to switch over from Android to Apple, that's a big change. So I don't think this would be the reason why, but it is nice that they're doing this. And they have a whole list of different phones, different Android phones, a bunch of different Samsung Galaxies and Google Pixels that they now accept. They really updated the maximum trade value for almost all other Android smartphones. And that should make it easier for people to switch over if they do decide to do that. Good thing about this is that Apple has updated the maximum value. Some phones you can get a lot more than you used to be able to, and it just depends on the condition, scratches, whether the phone works, and just the basics like that. Here's another rumor. So Apple's AirTags are supposed to be coming out really any month now. By the end of 2021, they are definitely expected to come out. And according to rumors, they're going to be slightly larger than a US $half coin. And so right now, according to a rumor, Apple's AirTags are going to be 32 millimeters in diameter and 6 millimeters thick. And it also claims that they're going to be around $39 to buy them. And this is a pretty big deal. So I heard about these. I've heard about them for a while. And I think they're really cool. Like you could attach them. They're basically going to use Apple's Find My network, the same way that you use Find My iPhone. And you could put these little AirTags on other devices to keep track of them. And then they would pop up on your Find My iPhone on the Find My network. And that's essentially how it works. To give you a little comparison of how big it would actually be, so it says 32 millimeters in diameter, 6 millimeters thick. A quarter is 19 millimeters wide, and a $half coin is about 30.5 millimeters wide. So it's going to be wider than a quarter and a little bit wider than a $half. So it's going to be about a little less than twice as wide as a quarter. And then also, it's going to be about the same thickness as, let's say, a $half coin. Right now, though, with these, they have not been released yet. When they are, it's supposed to be in that April 2021 event. That's when they're supposed to come out. They do have a lot of competitors already. TileMate. TileMate is 35 millimeters. And it's a square and 6.2 millimeters thick. And the Tile Pro is going to be is 42 millimeters square and 6.5 millimeters thick. So there are competitors out there, but the main benefit of having like one of these, the AirTags, is that it would keep all of your stuff in the Apple ecosystem, which is what most people with Apple do. They like to have all Apple products to keep just everything in the ecosystem. Next up is another rumor with Apple. They're forecasting that there's rumors that there's gonna be an 8-inch foldable iPhone and a notchless iPhone in 2023. Those are gonna be two big updates. So according to an analyst, he said that they're predicting that the 8-inch foldable iPhone will come out by 2023. Apple's been working on a foldable phone for a while now, and they said that if they can solve the technology, which they really have already been working on, and they can solve the problem of mass production of it, then we should see it by 2023. They've been working on it for a while now. Back in October, we saw a rumor that 2022 could be when the first folding iPhone would be available. But then in January of 2021, Bloomberg said that while it was underway, the timeline wasn't set in stone yet. So I think latest would be 2023 for that foldable iPhone. Earliest would be mid to end 2022. And then with the notchless iPhone, that is also expected by 2023. This would be the first iPhone without that notch on it, and it would be the first one ever. The one issue with this is just, getting the development, making sure development goes smoothly, and also making sure they have the mass production of that, the capability to do that. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but they are rumors that we're going to have a notchless iPhone in 2023 and a foldable iPhone in 2023. So that would be a really, really big deal. Speaking of foldable phones, though, TCL, they're experimenting with a foldable and rollable phone. So both, not just foldable, not just a rolling screen, but both. And essentially with these sketches, there's been sketches that we're seeing that essentially shows that the phone opens up and then it could roll to expand from just like a normal size phone into a fairly large tablet. And they're expected to show these like this device off at an event in mid-April 2021. And at the same time, they're expected to unveil its 20 series phones that it teased during a press conference back in January. This phone, the phones that they are expected to release are supposed to be in that mid-range price range and gives you another like inexpensive option. Really what they're trying to do is with this foldable and rollable phone and all the phones that TCL is doing, they're trying to like piggyback off of their success with the TCL Roku and their TVs. That's what they're trying to do, because they previously have sold phones under the BlackBerry name. They've sold other low-end phones under other brand names, but now they're trying to use the TCL brand name, trying to see if their success in the TV space will translate over to the phone space. And with this foldable and rollable phone, that could be a pretty big deal, because a lot of people like to have the larger phones, but at some point it gets to be too big where you can't really fit in your pocket. It's not functional. So if you could have one that folds and rolls, it can go from just a regular size phone into a large tablet by combining both of those different features. That would be pretty cool. We don't have any pictures of it yet, but we do have the sketches that have been leaked. These are just the sketches. Currently, Samsung's cheapest foldable phone is $1,380, the Galaxy Z Flip, and they have ones that go all the way up to $2,000, but no one has a phone that rolls and folds, which can make it much smaller, and it can make it much larger than all the other phones out there. Here's a story with BMW and PG&E. They are talking a lot about something called a virtual power plant. And right now, they have a partnership together that is trying to essentially stabilize the California power grid. There's been a lot of issues just with power outages all over the country, whether that's in Texas with the cold front that happened recently, or in California with their fire season. So essentially, what they're talking about now is something called a virtual power plant. And BMW, what they just announced that starting March of 2021, that they're expanding a program that they've been running that would allow PG&E customers who drive an electric or hybrid BMW to apply for a 24-month smart charging pilot program and earn cash incentives when they charge their cars during recommended hours. So essentially, if they charge their cars during off-peak electrical hours, well, then they can get cash back. And right now, they're talking about virtual power plants, which essentially, they're saying that one day, all of the electric cars out there, those are all batteries, and they store energy. And those could eventually be used as like a sort of a virtual power plant. According to a professor of materials science and engineering at University of California, Berkeley, he said that the amount of energy storage you have driving on four wheels in the US is much more than any electric utility will ever build and put on the grid. So it starts to make sense that you use this as a resource to stabilize the energy grid. And what they're saying is that right now, virtual power plants would be essentially all of these batteries that are in people's cars, in houses all over the country. All of these could be used to power houses, power different things when the power grid, let's say there's a storm or there's a power outage. They could be used to power these things when the traditional energy grid cannot. And the positives of this is that if there's a storm or a fire, a lot of times what happens is the power grid gets shut down for like days in certain areas. But with this, then like people's cars are still going to work, like unless there's like a catastrophe where someone's car gets swept away in like a storm. But as long as the cars are there and they're charged, those cars could be used to power people's homes, and there's a lot less risk of them failing because there's thousands of cars all over the place, and it's not just all connected. Each car would serve as like its own power source for a little while. I thought this was pretty cool. I never heard of the concept of virtual power plants, but that is essentially what they're talking about, where finding a way where they can use all of these different car batteries to essentially help provide power to the grid. Disney Plus is hiking prices, and they just started doing this. The price of Disney Plus officially has gone up $1 to $8 a month, and that's in the US. And the yearly subscription has gone from up $10 from $70 a year to $80 a year. This is already effective. This just was announced. And that's for strictly Disney Plus. If you have the combo where you have Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, well then that will also go up by $1 in the US, and that'll go up to $14 a month. So if you live not in the US, other countries around the world, it's going to be a similar sort of price increase just in the other currencies, whatever your currency is. This has come because Disney Plus has had a lot of success. They've been doing extremely well lately, and they offer a lot for that price range. For that $8 a month, they offer a lot more than their competitors. For example, like Netflix most popular plan is $14 a month, and Netflix, their cheapest tier is $9, and even with their premium package, so that's not that one. But with Netflix's premium package, they offer 4K resolution, HDR image quality, and the ability to stream on 4 devices at the same time. That costs $18 a month, and Disney Plus offers all of that standard. So Disney Plus, they're offering basically the same quality, the same functions, being able to stream on multiple devices, all of that, the same as Netflix, but they're offering at $8 per month. And Netflix's cheapest tier is $9. Their most expensive is $18 a month. So Netflix has really been making moves. They have over 100 million subscribers now, and they're really starting to make major moves in the streaming space. And I think Netflix, they don't have to be worried, but like they're not going anywhere because they have different content, but they're really starting to have a major competitor with Disney. And Disney is much more than a streaming company. Disney has the theme parks. They have a lot of different movies and shows that they've had on for years. They have a lot more than what Netflix has. So my opinion, I think Disney Plus is continuing to position themselves to be a massive, massive player in the streaming space, especially with their price range. This $1 increase, in my opinion, doesn't change anything. It's just going to generate more revenue for the company because increasing by $1 does nothing, especially when their biggest competitor is Netflix, and Netflix's cheapest subscription is $9 a month. So that's at least what I think. Switching gears a bit, back to space. An astronomer came out the other day and he said that space-launched missiles are the best protection from asteroids, and they said that planetary protection starts not on on Earth. It has to start outside of the Earth's atmosphere. It has to start in space. And an Italian astronomer, essentially what he says is that he said the best defense against potential killer asteroids, preventing like some sort of mass extinction. He said the best way to defend against this is basing our defense in space. So the astronomer, he first worked out a plan in 2002, the basics of how missiles stationed at Earth, Moon, Lagrange points. So essentially, these are spots in space where the gravity of the Earth and Moon effectively cancel each other out. So he says, essentially the math he worked out is saying these missiles need to be positioned at the point between the Earth and the Moon where there is no gravity from either planet. Essentially, they could just stay there and it's not pulled in any one direction. And essentially what he says is that it would allow for these missiles to then be launched and could be used to deflect or destroy completely asteroids. Essentially what they're saying is that there would be multiple missiles that could be periodically launched and at like oncoming asteroids and essentially make them miss the Earth completely or just obliterate them. A lot of engineers, a lot of astronomers and scientists have studied this, and they're saying that this is something that we'll definitely need to do at some point because you never know what can happen, and it's always better to protect against something like this from happening because a killer asteroid could come out of nowhere, and this is probably the best way to actually protect against it. This scientist, this Italian astronomer, he filed for a patent on his whole design, and they're going to continue to work on this, continue to talk about it, but I thought that was pretty interesting. And now on to Ark Invest and Cathie Wood. So Ark Invest is officially launching another ETF. Stock ticker symbol is going to be ARKX, and this is going to be their space exploration ETF. They just came out. It's officially on their website, and essentially what is going to be in this ETF is that it's going to be focused on 4 different things. The first is going to be orbital aerospace companies, which are companies that launch, make, service, or operate platforms in orbital space, including satellites and launch vehicles. The second category of this ETF is going to be aerospace companies, which essentially make, service, or operate platforms in the suborbital space, but do not reach a velocity needed to remain in orbit around the planet. The third category is going to be enabling technologies, so like robotics, 3D printing, materials, and energy storage, and AI. That's all used for these space exploration companies. And the fourth is going to be aerospace beneficiary companies, which essentially are companies that benefit from aerospace activities, including agricultural, internet access, GPS, construction, imaging, drones, air taxis, and electric aviation vehicles. we already know what's going to be made up, what's going to be in this ETF. The largest holding is going to be a company called Trimble Inc. And the second largest is going to be the 3D printing ETF, which is one of their ETFs. You can see on their website under index ETFs, they do have a 3D printing ETF. Other things that are going to be made up of this this new ETF they have is going to be JD.com, Lockheed Martin, Komatsu, Boeing, Iridium Communications, and if we could also see the full holdings as well. But this is pretty big news. This is going to be another flagship fund for Ark Invest and Cathie Wood. They've all done extremely well since they were first launched. If you look at any one of her ETFs since it was first launched, you could first invest in it, they've all done extremely well, and this is their 8th ETF. So this comes at a pretty important time because there's a lot of space companies, a lot of private space companies that have gone public or have announced plans to go public later this year. 7 of them have announced SPAC mergers, and a lot of them are ones that Ark Invest will be looking at. So something to keep an eye out on, but that's really all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll have another one tomorrow, and I'm going to try and do these every day. So hope you enjoyed. Don't forget, you can get 4 free stocks when you download the Webull investing app. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.